Woo! Here we go. We are live. So, everyone, welcome to No Decaf Podcast. And today we have Ed Forteau. Is that how you pronounce it?
Excellent. Well done.
All right. We have Ed Forteau of Higher Open Rates. He's the owner and CEO and extraordinaire. He has a ton of experience. He's been in the marketing space for 30 years. And so, Ed, tell us a little bit more about kind of what you do with your company.
Well, let me tell you the story of how we got to where we are.
Sure.
Like a lot of people that own agencies, prospecting becomes a big part of what we do. Getting in new clients to replace old clients is critical. And I think in any agency, that's been the case for whether you're a large agency or a small agency. Bringing in new clients is the lifeblood of your business. And so one of the ways we were looking at doing that more effectively was with cold email. Cold email is cost effective. It's a lot cheaper than pretty much any other method of marketing. And the results are almost instant. Within a week, you know whether you've got something that's working or not. So I was approached by an established ESP that had a new program that they were doing. They needed beta testers for it.
And, for those who are not aware of what an ESP is, go ahead and let them know.
Internet service provider. So like Aweber or MailChimp or anyone like that.
Nice.
So they had this new program, and it did three things. It had the email addresses of the people that you wanted to prospect. So you go into the system, you look for a specific industry, they would get the leads for you, they download them into their own email client. And then you would create your own email sequence. And it was usually a 5 to 7 email sequence. And included with that would be a ringless voicemail and text messages. And a lot of people are very familiar with the ringless voicemail. So this was kind of new that they brought all of those things under one umbrella, and I was pretty excited about it. So I purchased a monthly subscription to their system. It took a while to understand how to work it, and then I created the email sequence. It was a 7 email sequence, and before I wanted to make it live. I wanted to test it out on 7 email accounts that I had. So I set the email accounts up. I fired that bad boy up, sat back and just waited for the emails to come in and for the text messages and the voicemail drops, and nothing happened.
Wow.
49 emails went out, and 48 of them were nowhere to be found. One of them was in the spam folder. And I'm going like, what's going on? This is an established
That's
company.
Crazy, yeah.
This is not what's supposed to happen. So I contact their tech support. I explain to them what happened. They go, well, let us check into it. They get back to me and they say, well, all the emails were delivered from our end. I go, okay.
Right.
So, and that was the end of the conversation.
That's crazy. That's like going to the store and swiping your card and walking out, and they'll be like, hey, it didn't go through. It'd be like, well, I swiped the card. It went through on my end.
I know, right? And so I ended up canceling my subscription with those guys and digging into, well, why aren't the emails getting delivered? So I did a lot of study on that, and I realized that things had changed since I had been doing email marketing. I'd been doing email marketing for over 20 years. In 1999, I was creating email campaigns for clients using this desktop software called Postmaster. It wasn't designed to do workflows or anything like that, just kind of bulk mail, but I was able to jerry-rig it and work with them so that we could do workflows. And if somebody opened an email, then they'd go into another workflow. It worked really well. And I sold a ton of those to mortgage brokers. So I was familiar with how email worked. Yeah. And running campaigns and using it for prospecting. But what I didn't know was how much things have changed because of security measures. I mean, think about now, if you log into a bank, you may have your bank website, you may be asked to do double verification. You may get a text message just to make sure that it's you, or any software application, or sometimes any membership site, they double verify that you are who you are. Well, email didn't have that level of security. And because there are so many different mailbox providers and email service providers, they don't talk the same language, and they don't do the same things. But they found three things that they did, and one was authentication. And all of them kind of came to agreement on there's a certain level of authentication to make sure that the person who says they're sending the email out is actually mailing out that email. And one of the reasons why they do this is because a lot of people don't realize this, that there's over 300 billion emails sent every single day, which is
Whoa.
a lot of emails. Yeah.
That is a lot of emails.
It's a lot of emails. And 90% of those emails are spam. So in order for them to filter out all of those spam messages, they needed to put these authentication protocols into place just to make sure that who said they were sending out the emails were actually sending out the emails. And if you don't set up those authentications properly, your emails just won't go out. They'll tell the mailbox provider that receives them that they're spam. I don't know if a lot of people, and I don't want to get into a lot of the technical aspects of this,
Sure,
but a lot of people don't realize what the journey of an email is. So they write it, they have their list, they push send, and they think, okay, it's going to go out to everybody. But first it goes through an SMTP, which is kind of this clearinghouse of all the emails. And then from there, the emails go out to the individual mailbox providers like Yahoo, Google, Outlook. At that point, the mailbox providers then look at the email and take it through a series of checkpoints. Now, I'll stop here and just say that part is delivered. So when the ESPs say we have a 99% delivery rate, it means that 99% of the time we'll deliver your email to the mailbox provider. That doesn't
to the
mean
SMTP.
Right. And
okay.
And that doesn't mean, not to the SMTP, that the SMTP will forward it to the mailbox provider. So my email will go to, say you have Gmail, they guarantee that your email will go to Gmail, but at that point, the guarantee ends. So Gmail decides whether it's going to pass it on to you. And what it decides is this email an email that somebody wants? Does it go into your primary email box? Or does it go into the promotional email box? Or does it go into spam?
Right.
Or do they just block it? Do they put it in quarantine, which is the worst place for it to be? And I'll explain why in a second. So then they go through this series of checks. They look at the subject line. They look at the body copy. They look at the reputation of the domain, the reputation of the IP address, and then they go through those authentication checks. Is the SPF record set up properly? Is the DKIM record set up properly? Is there a DMARC record there? And if you pass all of those, and it doesn't look like it's spam, then you go into the primary email box. If you don't check off one of those boxes, the likelihood that it goes into the promotional folder or the spam box or is blocked goes up, and sometimes goes up dramatically. What a lot of people don't realize is that business email gets blocked more than personal email. Personal email usually gets through, but business email may not arrive anywhere from 22 to 49% of the time. And
it takes a long time for it to get there sometimes too.
Yeah, and it can be delayed, and especially since COVID, because more people are using email now. So sometimes you're seeing our emails take longer, and a lot more emails are being blocked because they're not properly set up with their authentication.
So and so when did you really, I mean, aside from like that point in time, when did you start to feel like, oh, well, I think I need to start a company helping people out with this? Because obviously, you had that issue. Did you talk to other people who had similar issues with that ESP, the internet service provider, or email service provider? I forgot which one you said it was, or like what kind of got you started on that journey? Because this is an issue that I know plenty of people have. I know way too many people who have this issue. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't realize how bad it was until I experienced it myself. Like 0% of the emails got into the inbox. So I got connected with this lead analyst for a major ESP. A friend of mine connected us, and he started walking me through this process of why things get blocked and how many people get blocked. He sees millions of emails every day. So he sees how much these emails get blocked. And he was telling me how common it was. For example, a lot of people set up DMARC properly. And if you don't understand what DMARC is, it's kind of like you have an alarm system for your home.
Okay.
And SPF would be locking your windows. DKIM would be, and that's the different authentications. DKIM authentication would be like locking your doors. And then DMARC would be like the security system that you have that makes sure that everything's working. And so if you have DMARC set up, somebody who's maybe an aggressive person who wants to spoof your email, if they want to get past your SPF and DKIM records authentication, they can do it. Right? There's YouTube videos that show people how to do it. But if you have DMARC set up properly, when somebody tries to breach your email account, the alarms go off and it just shuts them down from sending out any emails. So it's kind of like the alarm goes off on your home alarm system. The cops get called. They show up at your house. They arrest the criminal and take them away, and without any damage being done. And I thought that, well, most people do have DMARC set up, but they don't have it set up right. In fact, 99% of companies don't. And this is how it happened. I'm having a conversation with at the time, he became my new business partner. And we're just talking on Zoom. And he asked me casually, give me a name of one of the websites you have that I haven't seen or worked on. And I didn't think anything of it, so I gave him the name of that website. And we keep talking. And I'm watching him as we're talking. He's actually typing some things. I hardly noticed that. 2 minutes later, he said, check your email for that domain. So, and I only have one email account set up on that domain. So I go there and he sends me this email and it's from somebody else. So he set up a new account. He sent an email. He said, I just hacked your email account and I can do anything I want with it, in the subject line and the body copy.
Wow.
And he did that within about 2 minutes while talking to me on Skype. And I go, oh my God, I just got in business with the super hacker, I thought. But
that is insane.
I said it out loud. Yeah, it's crazy. But he said, that's how easy it is. And then I thought he kind of overstated the fact that so many companies don't have proper DMARC protection. And we started to go through Fortune 500 companies like Ford and Porsche, and they don't have DMARC protection. He could easily go into any of those Fortune 500 companies and set up an account and send out thousands of emails, and it would be done within 10 minutes, effectively ruining their domain reputation. It would cost thousands of dollars to fix it. And most entrepreneurs couldn't afford it. It would put them out of business.
Sure. Yeah. Same thing. So yeah, same thing with cybersecurity. I mean, in essence, this is a form of cybersecurity,
right?
But it also affects the deliverability of your emails.
It does.
Yeah, and so how does higher open rates work? Like, how do you get it to where you can help people make sure that they're protected, make sure they don't get hacked, or make sure whatever the case may be, and also make sure their people are getting their emails. Now, obviously not the annoying ones, the ones who, send you to spam. I'm talking about, legit emails like, hey, your bill is due, or hey, you have a invoice, which is pretty important. If it keeps going to spam, or maybe a document that you need signed, that happens all the time.
It does. It happens more often than people realize. And sometimes what occurs is that, for example, you're having this conversation going back on email with a prospect, and you get to a point where you're sending a document. So you send an attachment, and maybe that's a contract, or you're sending an invoice to something you did work for. Well, because it's a document, now there's an attachment. Now the email box providers are scrutinizing that email a little more closely. So They're really looking at whether you have proper authentication. They're looking at the subject line, the body copy. They're looking to see what your domain reputation is. They're looking to see what the IP reputation is. And even though the other emails got there, that one, because things weren't set up properly, may not get through. And that's everyone I talk to has had that happen to them once, where a document never got there, and they either thought, well, this person was just wasting my time. I thought I had a real prospect, but apparently they weren't, because they're not answering my email. On the other side of it, the prospect's thinking, why hasn't this person sent me this contract? I
Right.
can't do business with somebody that's not going to follow through. And then this miscommunication happens, and all of a sudden, two people that were having a good relationship in rapport are kind of fighting because they don't now trust the other person.
Sure.
And it's just, and a lot of times it's just a simple matter of the email just never got there. If the person said I didn't get the email, you may want to believe them as opposed to just thinking it did.
And so you guys at higher open rates help companies fix everything, hopefully.
Yeah, right. So the first thing we do is we look at the email architecture to make sure that everything's set up properly. And doing that alone usually increases somebody's open rates by 10 to 20%, just right off the bat. And that happens almost immediately. We fix it in a day. The next day they send out emails and the open rate goes up 10 to 20%. And that's pretty significant for a lot of people. Now, for other people that have other things that they do, it's just usually if you have a subscription service. And so you may not be setting up your segmentation properly, or the timing of those emails that go out once you segment your list may not be good, or because it's cost you, say, $1 per subscriber, you're not willing to take subscribers off that aren't opening up your emails. And what typically people do is if somebody's not opening up their emails, they email them more, which hurts your domain reputation. It's this vicious cycle, and then lowers your open rate even lower, and creates a problem with your domain reputation, your IP reputation, and now nobody's getting your emails. And we've had several clients in that situation where their open rates were 25, 30%. And what typically happens is you see this slow drop in your open rates, and then all of a sudden it just falls off a cliff. It goes from 30% slowly down to about 20, 22%, and then all of a sudden it's 2%, 1%, and nothing's getting through. And that's a matter of not cleaning your list, not making sure that all the authentications are properly set up, not segmenting the list and taking out, say, your customers versus your prospects and emailing them at different times, and reducing the amount of times that you email them, right? Emailing somebody once.
The amount of times you email people who don't open. Like that would just...
Right. If they're not opening an email after, say, 90 days, that's being pretty generous. If they haven't opened up your email in 90 days, they probably aren't going to open it. You should take that person off your list. They're doing more harm than they will good. Okay. Remember, the small percentage of people that will open and buy is so small, it's not equal to the amount of customers you're going to lose, because those people aren't going to get your emails.
Sure. That makes sense. So let's say someone who, is interested in kind of what you got going on, and they want to learn more about, everything that you do to help them. How would they get in contact with you guys to schedule?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would do is I would go to higheropenrates.com/Adam.
Okay.
There they'll get on our mailing list, and they'll actually get a report from us on how to get out of the Gmail promotional box, which a lot of people do that. It's a 27-point checklist on how to get out of the email, out of Gmail's promotional inbox. And from there, we communicate with everybody. They'll get the report. You can reply to that email, set up an appointment if you want. And it will get delivered. Yeah. If it doesn't get delivered, we got a problem.
Yeah, for sure. And this, because sometimes if you did like a reactivation campaign, that could literally mean the difference. If a 20% difference could mean the difference of at least 1 or 2 clients, which could be huge. You look at it, let's say the average lifetime value of a client is 4 months, and you're doing $1,000 a month, and let's say you get 2 or 3 clients out of that 20%. That's huge. That's big money. And it's just you're losing it by emailing those people who don't want to hear you. So, and I know you did put together that list of the 27 different ways to get out of the inbox. And it's at the ticker at the bottom, higheropenrates.com. For those who are listening, higheropenrates.com/Adam. And you can get that checklist to make sure that you're making sure all your emails are getting delivered. And if it's so bad to the point where nothing's getting delivered, obviously Ed's more than happy to hop on a meeting and see what he can do to help you guys. So,
and even if you have what you think are good open rates, it's rare when we come across somebody that doesn't have all the boxes checked, and we can do an audit to tell you, okay, here's what inboxes you're getting in, where they're landing. Are they landing in the promotional folder? Are they landing in the primary folder? Are they landing in spam? Are there emails that just aren't getting delivered because they're going into quarantine? Which that's kind of the most insidious place for them to land, because the mailbox providers don't tell you that they've gone into quarantine.
Right.
And if they don't tell you, you can't do anything about it. But they put them in quarantine to give you time to fix whatever problems that they see. But they don't tell you that that's what they're doing. And if you don't fix the problems within a given period of time, then you'll start to see your emails go into the spam folder or be completely blocked. And it happens suddenly, and you don't even know it. So what we tell people is that when you do, you should do a regular audit just to see where your emails are landing. And if you find that 3% or more of your emails are being blocked or put into quarantine, there's a problem that you need to address. So you have time. There's things that you could do to make sure that you're not going to have a problem, and then address the problem before it occurs.
Fair enough, man. I mean, I'm sure we could be on this call for 2 hours dissecting every little thing, because I just feel like there's just so much to do. But I think a good start for someone who wants to check it out is at that higheropenrates.com/Adam, and you'll be able to get that 27 tips to make sure your emails are getting delivered. I think probably the most important part that I feel a lot of people don't put a lot of weight to is the cybersecurity part of it. I had no idea about. That is extremely scary to know that if you have a list of 3,000 clients and they're just getting random emails from people, and it could be, hey, your bill's due, you owe us taxes, here's $30, click on the link to pay, and they just got 3,000 times 30 directly to their account, and it came from your inbox. So
the penalty for that, for someone spoofing your account, because you're the one who gets sued, not they try to find the people that spoof the account, but you're the one that's on the line. You're the one who's responsible for it. And the average cost of that happening to a small business is $57,000. And it happens way more frequently than you think. I think last year there was over 480,000 times companies that happened to. So there's a lot of businesses in the world, but you don't want to be on the to-do list of a hacker when they decide that you're the account, you're the website that they decide to hack that day and spoof. And it happens fast. It happens so fast, you wouldn't even know it happened, and it would be over in 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and it's done.
Wow. That just gives anyone who's listening to this on the replay some pretty or much needed urgency to contact Ed, because that's crazy. But hey, I really appreciate you coming on the call or on the podcast, and I look forward to having you on again and possibly going over a little bit different, maybe how you grew your business to where you are now. And so if you got any questions,
to talk about that.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions or they want to reach out to Ed again, the website's down on the ticker. For those who are listening, higheropenrates.com/Adam. So with that being said, thanks for hopping on, and I will see everyone on the next episode. Thanks.